Welcome to Nifty 50 Photographers. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to take those lovely dreamy close-up shots of isolated flowers. Now I've come to a natural woodland environment. We're just going to shoot this in natural light. And it's a slightly overcast day, which is perfect for this kind of photography because you want that nice soft light. We've come to some woodlands near my home called Larkrigg Woods, and they're just by the old canal that used to run between Kendal and Lancaster. We're just a little bit down from the towpath. As you can see, there's a fabulous display of wild garlic, which has all these lovely white flowers. There's some wood anemones and also some bluebells. The bluebells are just starting to come through. Now the great thing about that is it will allow me to isolate some of the flowers. It would be quite nice to have a little bit of sunlight streaming through here and there just to perhaps get some isolated light on some of the flowers. But we can get around that by using some key accessories, and I'll show you what I brought along. So I've brought along two little accessories, very portable and light to carry, but can be quite helpful, especially on these overcast days. One is a little portable video light. Switch it on so you can see what I mean. Now I can change the color temperature of this light. I've actually set it to a warmish white. It's around 3000 Kelvin because I want to imitate the sun more around golden hour, and I don't want that harsh white light that you get in the middle of the day. Other thing I brought along is a reflector, and I've got this fitted with a gold and silver reflector. And these are really useful when you're doing these kind of shots because it will reflect light in. Even though it's quite a overcast day, it's still going to reflect some light. The other thing you can do with it is you can take actually the reflector bit off, show you what I mean. And inside you have a natural diffuser. So if it is a very bright sunny day, you can use that to diffuse the light to make it much softer. So that's a great thing to do when you're trying to do these flower photos. And you can use it, of course, to block light altogether. Just remember, you're a great blocker yourself, so if you stand between the sun and your subject, you can block light and put it into shade, so you don't need to take those photos in harsh contrasts. So next thing I'm going to do is get set up and show you how to get those dreamy photos. So one of the first things you want to do when you're trying to do this type of photography is actually think about your background first. From a composition point of view, it's very much an exercise in two key compositional rules. One is foreground, middle ground and background. The other is isolating your subject. Now to help with isolating my subject, I've got a 90mm macro lens. I'm going to set it its widest aperture, f2.8. So that will blur a lot of the background. But I want to be careful of is not having distracting elements in it. And I want a bit of distance between my foreground and my background so that the subject is nicely sharp and in focus and the background's blurry. Otherwise, I'll end up with distracting elements in there. So I found some bluebells that are close to this patch of garlic. And it's quite a way before you get to some flowers. I think that'll make a nice composition. I'm going to start with that. I'm not going to mess about with my reflectors or anything at this stage, just trying to get a feel for the right composition. When I want to get my best shot, I'm going to put my camera on the tripod and then I can have some free hands to play with the reflectors and so on. Show you how I've got set up. I've got my camera on the tripod and actually take the center leg out, turned it upside down so I can get the camera low to the ground and move around this way. You'll see also got the reflector there. Now the reflector's there, nothing to do with the light actually, but there's just a very slight breeze and I want to keep that flower exactly still because I'm going to use a technique called focus stacking. Because I'm using such a wide aperture, get such a shallow depth of focus, actually want to make sure the flower doesn't move. I'm going to take 3 images, focus on different parts of the flower to make sure, and then I'll blend them together in the final Photoshop image to make sure that it's nice and sharp throughout. Framed it to have the bluebell as my main subject with a bit of stuff going on in the background. And what I found actually, there's some little wooden enemies behind it. And because I'm using the wide aperture, they're creating a little bit of bokeh. So that's making a beautiful shot. So now the next thing I'll do is just play around with my reflector, see if I can get some reflected light to hit the scene. And let's see if we can show this on camera or not. So I tilt the reflector, you can see how the scene changes. So I'll dabble with that and see if I find an effect that I like. I'm going to have a wander around and find a few other compositions, take some of the garlic flowers, some of the wooden enemies, and I'll share those with you in just 1 second. To give you a good idea how to get these isolated photos, one other tip I can give you: it's best to err on the side of underexposing so that the background goes a bit darker. You can always bring up the flower in post-processing afterwards. Now what you should do next is watch this video. It'll teach you how to focus that. Really useful technique when you're taking these very wide aperture type shots. Hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll look forward to seeing you next time.